to comment something very important though, off of what you just said.
Yeah.
This is for your listeners who struggle with their husbands taking out the trash. I have a very, very important tip.
Oh,
huge. This is, we made a relationship course because when I talked about this, we got so many emails and so many people saying, you just saved my marriage, that we made a relationship course because I'm like, this is crazy. So if you're struggling with your husband doing X, Y, or Z, the key is to put it in the routine, and it has to be the same every single day. Has to. Don't be the wife that tries to be nice, that says, oh, don't worry about the garbage today.
mm-mm.
Because you've now just told your husband it doesn't have to be there, and he will default to thinking he doesn't have to do it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how we figured this out. I was 9 months pregnant, and I was constantly asking Andrew to help with the dishes because I was working. He wasn't. We had a small rental with a tiny kitchen. And in the morning, I was always making lots of big tea because I wanted to drink tons of water. And if I woke up in the morning and the kitchen was a mess, like it just started my day off wrong. So I had been asking Andrew to help with the dishes, and he'd help for a day or two and then not. And then we'd have the fight again. And it just kind of kept cycling until one day I gave him a time to do it and a reason without even meaning to. And to this day, years later, he still does the dishes.
Well, yeah, you explained it like Michelle. Okay, so this is the formula. Michelle likes to wake up in the morning and see a clean kitchen. Okay.
Yeah.
So then that creates like a logical precedent. So then, oh, it's 11 o'clock at night. I have to do dishes because in the morning, like Michelle likes to wake up and see a clean kitchen. So like that's kind of the
yeah. So he had asked me one day, like, how was your day? And I said, well, I didn't have a great day because it started off wrong because the kitchen was a mess and I didn't get to make my things in time. And he was like, oh, so if you would have had a clean kitchen, like your day would have been better. So Andrew put doing the dishes in his nighttime routine. It's in his nighttime routine now. So even if it's sometimes I get to the dishes, but even if there's only 5 left before Andrew gets ready for bed, he loads the dishwasher or he does the dishes. So to this day now, I never have to ask him to do the dishes because it's in his routine. And a couple times I made the mistake of saying like, oh, don't worry about it, I'll do it tomorrow. And then he just wouldn't do it for a week. And we learned, and he's like, don't do that. Because as soon as you do that, like it falls out of my head and I stop doing it.
It's funny talking about this right now. It's like, well, why would Michelle saying that little thing, don't do it today, cause me to like not do it for a week? But it's like I was saying, it's like in that moment, right? It might be kind of a quick conversation that has large implications. So if I might not internalize it correctly, and I might think, oh, she means it like this, because I like, unless there's concrete, unless it's a very detailed explanation in Andrew speak or I might misinterpret it, and then that's what happened that week.
Yeah. I've also found that adding a metric to anything always helps. Like I need you to do this for 15 minutes every day. Like go around and pick up the toys, or something that he can set a timer, and something that's always the same really, really helps. Because saying I want your help more,
oh no,
doesn't do anything.
That just scares me.
No,
because it means like, oh God, the potentials are limitless in this moment. Like
that could mean fix the roof right now or mow the yard. What does that mean?
Yeah, the roof too, right? Is it shingled or is it metal? Oh God.
And I was making that mistake so much in the first year of our relationship. I was saying like, I want more romance. I want more chivalry. And I want more help, but I wasn't telling him what to do. As soon as I said like, hey, if we go camping, like, can you carry a couple of my heavier items? Can you set up the tent and take it down? Or can you open doors if we're on a date so it feels like a date? Because one of our problems was we were such good friends that I kind of felt like we were just still friends. But as soon as I gave him specifics, Andrew was happy to do all of it after a year of me asking the wrong way.
I think one way of of really dialing in what Michelle's saying is when Michelle says carry the heavier items too, in that moment, in lots of these moments, what I do naturally is I visualize. So when Michelle adds more detail to it, it helps me to visualize it. Once I had the visual, like, oh, it's funny. Sometimes it's hard to word this stuff. Like, so when Michelle says heavier items, I will actually look at the picture in my mind and think, okay, so I have this in my backpack, this in my backpack. Okay, and then Michelle's heavier items at the bottom. So then now that's logged, right? So then when we come up to the moment where my backpack's going to get packed to go camping, okay, so I'm going to put this in my backpack. Okay, then, oh yeah, and then Michelle's heavy, like it's there. Whereas if it would have been something that I can't visualize, oh, well, God help you to remember that one, you know, because it's easily forgettable because it's not visual. Yeah, no, there's probably a 97% chance of it. Yeah.
And then he'll feel bad afterwards.
No, I feel terrible.
And it's like, why aren't you helping me? And he'll just be like, what do you want? Like, he won't know. And to me, it's like, it's so obvious what I want.
Oh, God.
But to him, it's not obvious.
Oh, God.
Yeah. But you have to bridge that gap through communication.
Yeah.
And without blame, which is where it gets tough because it's so easy to just default to, he's a jerk, he doesn't care about me. As opposed to, hey, maybe I should try actually, and I've done this, physically drawing him a picture of what I want.
Those help so much.
So he can look at it and it feels kind of silly. But Andrew's like, can you draw me pictures like this? This helps me so much to see what you want.
Because there's so many things happening at once in the picture, but because you're absorbing it as one thing, it's like if you have a picture with, say a dozen important aspects of this whole general, like broad thing that we're trying to talk about. As we're talking about each individual, like one of the 12, right? If I'm not visualizing it and creating this in my mind, which takes a lot of horsepower, then as we talk about them without the picture, so if we just verbalize all 12 of those things without picture, I just see them all as single incidences. And I really struggle to put them all together and then to see their impact collectively on the page. But when you see it collectively on the page, you just then you can sit there and process it. Okay, so that's what you mean by that. Okay, that's what you mean. And then I'm sitting there visualizing it with her, and it's honestly it's just like writing a note in sand on a beach versus like chiseling, marble. It's like that. Okay, I'm feeling this. I get this.
And he'll keep the pictures.
And then, or it's like the water comes in and it's like, oh, it's gone. Where did the sandy words go? Oh, it's gotta start again. Like that, right? Because it's not a visual thing, or it's anyway.
Yeah.
There's something that it seems like it goes here in this discussion. I might quote you wrong because I was just trying to write it down
Sure.
while the audiobook. I don't like it when someone is mad at me, because if you're mad at me and I did what I think you asked, then that makes me overwhelmed and upset. I'm upset if I think you're upset, and then that can cause dysregulation.
Totally.
Do you want me to just quickly summarize the story of why he said that? So I had asked Andrew what we were just talking about, that I wanted more affection. I wanted more chivalry.
Yeah, that's a good
and story. Andrew, an entire weekend, had done that for me. We went camping. He carried my heavy stuff. He told me to sit by the fire while he packed up the tent. He was noticeably being more like a boyfriend, and I very much appreciated it. And we had a great weekend. Mm-hmm. And I told him that. And on our way hiking down the mountain, we posed for a picture, and Andrew kissed me on the cheek. And then he kind of kept kissing me, and he was squeezing me, and he was like, and he was giving me affection. And there was people waiting to cross the trail.
It was like a double log bridge. So only like one person. It's a one-way bridge on a trail that's kind of busy.
And I got extremely uncomfortable and made a joke and pulled away and basically was just like, stop it. Like, sorry guys, like, ugh. And I got uncomfortable. And then Andrew just took off running. And I immediately felt like a horrible person, because I'm like, he was trying to do what I asked. He just did it at the wrong time. and public affection wasn't really what I wanted. And as I was a people pleaser back then, I have come a long way, but I didn't want to bother people and hold up the trail.
And I didn't think we were holding up the trail. Like I had it in my mind that, hey, you have X amount of time on this bridge. Like you shouldn't be here too long.
Our bridge.
I didn't think I had exceeded that time limit. And I wanted to make sure it was a special full moment. And I felt like I was still beneath that time where people would start to get upset.
Yeah. And so that was terrible because I knew he was trying to do what I asked, but he did it kind of in the wrong way. And then I basically shot him down and made him feel bad. So that was a really big learning curve for us.
Yeah. It helped create that conversation, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and that's when Andrew wrote that quote you just said, how he felt. Because I could just imagine trying to do something that you think I asked, and then I get upset. Like, that's confusing.
And I've had many times in my life where that quote is applicable. That's probably the big one where I was using that one to create that quote. But I could take that quote and probably like bumper sticker it on so many other like moments. Because especially in school, when a teacher tells you something and then you interpret it, right, like a certain way, and you were totally wrong, and then they actually get mad at you. Like you like Andrew, you should know this. And I'm like, yeah, I just want to go home right now. Video games, Sonic the Hedgehog. Don't want to be. Like it's a really intense feeling, but it's all relative.